Stock Exchange listed retailer OK Zimbabwe group revenue grew by 29.4%. That's from 12.4 trillion to 12.4 trillion from 9.5 trillion the previous year. In its financial results for the year ended 31st of March 2024, the group reports that revenue growth was muted. And listen to this number. Items sold actually decreased by 29.2% against the prior year, driven by the market pricing distortions imposed on the group. This was compounded by constraints in the macroeconomic environment that resulted in steep price increases, declining consumer spending power, as well as restrictive supplier trading terms that have adversely impacted product availability. Today on Beat the Market, I'm joined by FinCent Capital Investment Analyst Kuda Kwashe Taimo to discuss OK Zimbabwe's performance. Kuda, welcome to Beat the Market, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's good to know. It's good to have you here.
Yeah.
Right, then looking at these numbers, look, okay, we'll get into some of the deeper issues in the numbers, but generally, overall, your comment on the overall performance of OK Zimbabwe.
Well, basically, I can say the performance was depressed. OK Zimbabwe as a retail was affected hugely by our local currency, Zimbabwean dollar, which has been replaced by ZiG on the 5th of April, primarily because consumers are price sensitive. Yeah, looking at OK, basically OK stores and OK Mart, these are mainly its flagship segment, and it has to, specifically they rely on volumes. So consumers are price sensitive here. And
I mean, if you look at OK's problems, let's not call them problems, let's call them issues or challenges, as most other retailers are. I mean, speaking to the Retailers Association of Zimbabwe President Demfa Mutashu, it's very clear that formal retailers suffer from numerous issues. They suffered from high inflation. They suffered from the fact that they had to price and get paid in both Zimbabwe dollars, US, and price at the official exchange rate in a market whereby most people were pricing at a parallel market exchange rate, and most people in the market were not accepting Zimbabwe dollars at that time. I mean, in fact, it got to such a point that many formal retailers and even formal suppliers actually started shutting down. So talk to me about, so even though you say their numbers are depressed, looking at that as a basis for how they had to operate, does that change your perception? I mean, in the fact that they had all these challenges to get over?
Well, I can give you an interesting example here. So in as much as it's in the retail space, I was actually analyzing even TM Pick and Pay. That's Miku's flagship segment, right? In the same annual year, they had, I think, only about, their volumes, they declined about only 4.4% as opposed compared to OK Zimbabwe. So in as much as, yes, there are challenges, like you have mentioned, that a lot of our retail companies are facing. But when we look specifically, we can see that, in fact, if OK has to improve its volumes, I believe they've got something to learn from TM Pick and Pay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I suppose that takes me to my next question. TM Pick and Pay just over 4%. OK Zimbabwe, so items sold declined by 29.2%. I mean, that is no joke. That's 30% decline in sales year on year. Why?
Sure.
I mean, they're selling the same product, I'm assuming. I'm assuming that the pricing should be the same. I'm assuming that the exchange rate should be the... What was the difference between, you just said this, TM Pick and Pay, Miko's flagship, and OK's?
Basically, I think it's also an issue of sentiments and maybe knowing where to focus and to push much of their efforts on. Because I think sometimes also location matters, eh? Yeah, because in as much as I was reading their financials and their objectives and their strategies, they make sense, but from my analytical point of view, I believe they need to revisit their strategy and consider, like, for example, the OK stores, it contributes about 60% of the top line of the revenue. And the OK Mart, it contributes 25% of the revenue. And the other premium stores, which is Food Lovers and the other, they contribute the remainder, right? So taking that into consideration, I believe they need to channel much of their attention towards the OK stores.
Which is okay, I won't call it low end, but it is the low end.
The low end.
Konapo Konapo, Ipapo Ipapo pa ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be.